Hi, Greg. First up, we're going to have Nolan King from USA Today talk with you. Nolan, you've been muted.
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
What's up, Mr. King?
Doing well, man. I appreciate you taking the time out to chat, and let's just get right into it, man. I saw a recent interview you did where you talked about accepting this fight, and you said that you felt a sense of loyalty that the UFC was your team. And this isn't a team sport, but can you elaborate on that a little bit? Why did you feel the need to raise your hand going into this one?
Disagree. I think the UFC is a team sport. I'm a big team. I got here. Guys take care of me. They make sure everything's done right. They make sure everything's done on time. They take care of my needs. I think that's something worth loyalty.
And going along with, is there any consideration on your part not to take this fight due to your, I know in the past we've talked about your asthma issues, and I know that was something that was brought up. This is a respiratory virus that's going around. Were you concerned at all about that?
Oh, I'm terrified, man. But, that's not going to stop me from paving the way. It's not going to stop me from making sure my boss has got the most entertaining fight first back on TV out of all sports. So this is the biggest event. You need the biggest athletes now. Yeah.
And we haven't had the chance to talk to you much since your last fight against Alexander Volkov. And I know you were very frustrated at the time after the loss that you weren't able to win. But since that time, was there anything you were able to kind of look back on and say, hey, this was a good experience, I learned X, Y, Z? Was that a good learning lesson for you in retrospect?
I want to start by saying losing is always uncomfortable. But, as far as that goes, it was a good experience, man. One, I got to leave the country, never left the country before, so that was super dope. Two, I got to fight, a top 5 fighter coming off of a wonderful break, looking at his strongest, so it was amazing to test my skill. It was amazing to, let myself know in the world know, let myself know in the world know that I'm a competitor. I'm no longer really a contender. I'm a guy that brings a lot to the table, and I've earned in spades what I have now in the UFC. So,
my last question for you: your opponent Yorgan De Castro is the second UFC fight. I know you're not necessarily, in the past you said you're not a guy that's really studied your opponents in depth, but I guess what are you expecting from him, and what should we expect to see out of you come fight night?
Well, you guys know what to expect out of me, man. We're gonna meet in the middle. We're gonna throw some haymakers. We're gonna see what happens. If it goes 3 rounds, if it goes 1 round, I guarantee I'm push the pace. This is gonna be a mutual respect kind of bout. It's going to be 2 warriors in there trying to take each other's heads off, and I think that's always the most beautiful event.
Appreciate the time, Greg. Thank you.
Have a good one, brother.
Roman Madrowski from ESPN, you're up next. You've been unmuted.
Hi, Greg. Hey, Jeremy was just talking about some of the differences he has seen so far in this fight week, and obviously he's been through a lot, and you haven't had a ton of them, but I'm just wondering what stuck out so far as far as some of the differences you've seen in this fight week than you have in the others, other than this virtual media day, and I know you sat down wearing a mask, but what are some of the things that stuck out to you so far?
Oh, man, I'm the most happy, baby. I've seen plenty of fight weeks. And I think the difference between this one and all the other ones is, it's more cautious, honestly. And that takes away from the time that you get to reflect, takes away from time you get to prepare. So it's more on the road kind of travel kind of things, when you're on the road, you got to hit the airport. You got to make sure your bags are ready. You got to get your team together instead of always just showing up, focusing, and just letting the day flow. And that's happening a lot, here. Just a lot of interruptions in the day, a lot of poking cotton swabs up your nose. It's a lot of craziness.
Yeah, Jeremy said the same thing about the swabs. What about the hotel experience so far? I mean, getting meals, working out, maybe cutting weight or something like that. Has that been an adjustment for you as well?
It's been an adjustment, but not a really big one, man. I want to give a shout out to the UFC, Dana White, for making it easy. These guys have done top-notch work. Everything is sectioned off, social distance. Everybody does their own thing. Working with the governor of Jacksonville, man, it's been a beautiful collaboration, in my opinion. And I've been around a lot of different sports, a lot of different organizations to put together events on a massive scale, and I think this is quite impressive, to say the least.
Cool. That's all I got. Thanks.
Clayton Freeman, you've been unmuted. Maybe not having a question. Moving on.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Yes, this is a question for Greg. How has the process been in preparing for this while managing the delays, managing all the uncertainty that goes along with this?
It's slowly becoming a mental game, brother. It's kind of moving away from the normal weak physical focus and the preparation that goes into stuff like that, and more just trying to stay on task, trying to make sure that everything, your boxes are checked. Make sure that you got your mask, you got your hand sanitizer, you got this, you got this, and stuff like that. So.
After having your career where you played in some of the biggest stadiums in the country, what's it like preparing psychologically for the lack of a crowd atmosphere?
One more time.
What's it going to be like preparing psychologically for competing where there's a lack of a crowd atmosphere?
Oh man, for me, I don't think it's gonna be a big adjustment, man. I'm a developmental contract kind of guy. I've had a lot of fights in front of 0 people or 10 people. I think it's just like my Contender Series days. Just this small gathering of people going to war, celebrating great athletes, man. I think it's gonna be another day in the office.
And for you, you've had kind of a good experience with Jacksonville sports over the years. I mean, you played against Stars 9 years ago, got a safety in that game. Is anything like Jacksonville's kind of a good luck charm for you?
Yeah. I think I like Jacksonville. I think I might have to come back after this COVID thing is all over with, man. We've had nothing but good times here. I think it's going to be a celebration after the fight Saturday. I think it's going to be fireworks. It's the biggest, most dominant card I've ever seen. First sport back, like how can Jacksonville not be the electron?
So that's it. Thanks.
ADHD will get you, man.
All right. Looks like he's not on. We will move along. Nolan King from USA Today.
I left my hand up by accident.
All right. It's Caroline Pierce with BT Sport. You've been unmuted.
Can you hear me? It's Caroline from BT Sport.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Great to talk to you. You've been probably one of the most active fighters all of last year. You've been used to that UFC crowd, that energy. I just want to know from a personal perspective, do you feed off the crowd and the energy? What's more preferable for you? Obviously, you're going to adapt here to what it is, but what do you prefer?
I don't really have a preference, honestly, but I would say that I'm a different kind of athlete, man. The crowd for me is more off the field, outside the octagon. Like I feed off the crowd when I'm living my everyday life, when I'm in the gym. It comes with being a celebrity. It comes with being the best of your time, and that's where I get my energy from. But as far as when I step into the octagon, it's next level thinking, is next level anticipation, and it's just tunnel vision for 3 rounds.
And being so young in your MMA career, you've taken a couple of losses, you've got some wins. How do you feel like you've evolved as a fighter so far? And with that, what do you want to showcase this Saturday night?
I don't even think this one's gonna be a showcase, man. Coming off of the last fight, I have a little to prove, I feel like. I think this one's just gonna be about me having fun, me going out there and having one of those, in between fights to where I could just be myself, throw some haymakers in the middle, get a little reckless, and do what Greg Hardy does, put on a show.
And De Castro is obviously an undefeated fighter, and someone you could say has more to lose in losing that O. But what challenges does he bring? I assume you've watched tape, you've done your research. Where do you see he could be a potential threat?
He's a threat everywhere. He's got heavy hands. That's in the heavyweight division. That's always the trump card. But I think that undefeated thing is a cute title. You know, we put it to the test. We'll see. We'll find out.
Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
In Austin, Texas, you've been unmuted. Jordan, you have the question?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, Greg. Hey, thanks so much for the time. What's been different about this training camp trying to prepare during a pandemic as opposed to other training camps you've been in previously?
Man, this one's been crazy for me, brother. So I think I've dripped, because I have asthma. I really fly. I chose not to fly. So I've been driving back and forth, from Dallas to back to my gym. And 2 times, it was an honor to be on every single one of those cars. But it's just, back and forth, train, then drive, and then ended up, separating from my coaches, getting a whole new coaching staff. So this has been a whirlwind for me, man. And then on top of the COVID, just trying to stay safe, brother. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but we're here and we're ready.
What's been the challenge to get training partners? Have you been able to bring in people that can replicate kind of what you're going to do, or how's that been for you?
This one's been tough, man. 100%. It's been mostly just working with what we have. Like I said, I lost a lot. A lot of coaches. I lost a lot of things, and due to this event and due to previous events, it's just you got to work with what you got. We've been pulling guys in, if possible, making sure everybody's not sick, trying to stay safe and doing the best thing for health-wise myself, while also trying to train. It's been a little complicated, but I think we got it done. I think we got a good mixture of guys.
You mentioned that you wanted to be a part of one of the first events back in sports, but this is your first time fighting on a pay-per-view, and you're actually kicking off the card. What does it mean for you that, hey, UFC is putting you in a place to kick off the pay-per-view to kind of get that hype going for the event, and to put so many eyeballs on you there as well? I know you've been on ESPN before, and people have seen you there, but what does this one mean for you?
It's dope. I haven't really thought about it, but I'm super excited. It wasn't even a second thought for me, man. And that is one of the reasons why I always say yes. I never really question it a second time, because they always put me in a position to shine. They've always put me in a position to excel and be great. And this is just another one, man. Greg Hardy is the man of first. I'm breaking records, I'm taking names, and this is no different.
Awesome. You mentioned that Greg Hardy's a man of first, but when do we see the Prince of War? What time does the Prince of War come out on Saturday night? It's ready for the fight.
Oh, it's coming soon. Cut a little bit of weight, rehydrate, get my pretty face, put it away, get the goon face on, and then it's war. Think about Friday night. We get ready for an execution.
All right. Thanks so much for the time, guys.
Jay Anderson with Cage Side Press, you're next.
I'm a good-looking guy.
Greg, one quick question to start. You mentioned the change in coaches. Was that specifically because of the pandemic, and is that something that's going to stay moving forward, or are you going to go back to the original coaches?
I was with Dean Thomas. He had a little separation with our gym, went to do his own thing, changed the order his own way. So I didn't get to work with him this camp. Daniel Jolly had to go do his own thing in his own way as well. So I've been with him from the beginning. He's a great coach, and it was a little bit different. So that was before the pandemic, and the pandemic hit, and none of my other coaches could come in. So we lost a lot of guys like that. A lot of couldn't do classes, so I lost a lot of, and that was big in my preparation for all the other fights. Just because, as everyone knows, I'm always learning. I'm a rookie. It's my first year, so second year. So I'm always trying to get new details, cover bases, and I couldn't do that this camp. So I think it was a little bit of both, man, and it's just been a lot of adjusting on the fly.
There's been a bit of criticism in terms of this fight being on the main card, given, like you said, you are a rookie. What's your response to the critics in that case?
Wait. I was criticized?
Just the fight in general, the placement.
Oh, man, I'm used to it, brother. I mean, it's supposed to be. It's the greatest show on earth, man. If it wasn't criticized, then it means we don't have enough fans out there, dude. And I think that everybody that criticizes is going to tune in. They're going to see Francis. They're going to see all these guys. They're going to see Greg Cerrone. They're going to see Charlie Rosa. They're going to see the entertainment value go through the roof and blow the top off of Jacksonville, man. And they're going to be excited. They're going to be wondering when the next one's coming.
And last question from me. You had spoken about wanting to go out to the Fight Island, fighting week in and week out, trying to get maybe 6 fights in this year somehow. Is part of that going back to your football days? You're used to competing week in and week out.
You know, I was made for this. I was constructed as one of the best athletes in the world to do this, to be consistent, consecutive, to be volatile all the time, and then switch it off for another week. I think that's my best attribute as a UFC fighter, man. And I think that if anybody could do it, it would have to be me.
Thank you.
Next up is Stephen Morocco. You're next.
Greg, can you hear me? Sorry for the redundant question. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, sorry. Greg, have you stayed inside the hotel since you got there? And have you been interacting with any of the other fighters? What's that been like?
Other than that, being self-quarantined in the room, hanging out, checked in. It's been mostly, poking up my nose and pricks on my fingers. So it's been going by the protocol day by day, trying to stay away from people, man. Like I said, UFC's been doing a great job with this COVID.
Have you seen and interacted with any AEW wrestlers?
Come again?
Apparently there's some pro wrestlers at the hotel as well. Have you seen any of them?
Oh, no, I have not. That'd be dope. I hope so. Teach me some moves. Maybe I go to the WWE.
Is that something you want to do eventually?
It'd be super dope, man. King of War deserves to be in the WWE. We got to get there first, but yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I think I would have a sweet off the ropes move, you remember the Raymond Mysterio or not, the dragon guy that spawned on people's head. I think I'd be that guy.
Were you a big pro wrestling fan growing up? Who was your favorite?
Mike Sting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have, like, when you're doing a camp, getting ready for a fight, do you have any sort of, like, set of benchmarks, for conditioning and technique that you need to hit? And if so, like, what have those been like for this camp? How have they changed, if at all?
No, man, I think having benchmarks for a camp is a guy that's here for a check. If he's here for a fight, I'm here for eternity, brother. I'm about to make it rain for decades. So we don't have benchmarks. Every camp needs to be pushed. I don't think past the next fight, but, I have to train past the next fight.
Gotcha. Do you look at this more, like Jeremy was talking about, like the scenario where, if you're in a street fight, you don't get time to prepare. You gotta just go and fight. Do you look at this closer to something like that scenario, or do you look at this like a normal fight?
I'm way too pretty to be in a street fight, brother. But I think this is more, it's more like war. You don't get a warning. You get the call, the bell rings, and you show up. And I've been in this situation plenty of times, man. I've been in situations where, we play on Sunday, turn around, have to play on Thursday, and then turn around, have to play on Tuesday. And then maybe the quarterback changes, maybe the whole lineup changes, maybe your guy changes. It's on the fly. That's what we train for as a professional athlete. I can't speak to everybody in the UFC or every MMA fighter, but as a professional athlete, being ready is a part of the card, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Next up is Ezekiel Bergonzi from Super Luchas. You've been unmuted. Hello? All right, I think that's it, Greg. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Have a great day.